Hello, Hoopheads, and welcome to another edition of King's Court. That is your weekly all-access NBA show brought to you by www.sports-kings.com. I'm Andy Flint. We have a great show for you here today. We got a nice panel. We might be expecting one more, but for now, I'll let you know who is here with me. I have Frank. What up?
I just want to shout out the Grindfather, a.k.a. Tony Allen, a.k.a. hashtag the Durant Stopper.
I don't have comment for that. Next, we have Desmond.
Hey, how's it going? I want to shout out Jeff 3, the Pacers killer.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's getting crazy. And last but not least, we have Michael.
I'm not going to do any shout-outs. I'm actually going to send out some condolences right now. Condolences to the families that were affected that F3 tornado that dropped down in Little Rock, Arkansas. My brothers are Marines out there helping them clean up. And also, really on a sad note, the hip-hop world lost DJ Easy Rock from Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock the other day. So condolences go out to that. It really does take two to make everything go right.
And right off Michael's play, I'm going to say rest in peace as well to the Charlotte Bobcats. No, literally, because they're gone. They're dead. Never again.
The end of the
game. That's like you're crying good tears. So we have an excellent show for you today, but before we get into that, I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on the biggest news in the sports world. That's Donald Sterling. We're not really going to give him much attention here. We've collectively decided not to talk about that. So if you're here to hear more about the extreme racism that's come out of the LA Clippers organization, you're going to be disappointed because we're taking a stand. I didn't wear my shirt inside out, though. I got my Y-League shirt on. So
I am wearing black, though. So
we as Sports Kings do not condone the idiocy that is Donald Sterling or his comments. We put that out there. We're going to jump into the playoffs. This is the real stuff, guys. This has put such a cloud over the playoffs. We're going to bring it back today on this show. I'm glad you're all here with us. We're going to jump right into the Indiana Pacers and a big what if. That's actually not even a big what if at this point, which is sad. What if the Indiana Pacers lose to the Atlanta Hawks? What does that do for their future, their offseason, the immediate, things that are going to occur here if they get bounced in the first round? And it's a 3-2 hole they've put themselves in. Thoughts? We'll go to you first, Desmond. Since you weren't here last week, let's hear your thoughts on the underachieving Indiana Pacers.
Well, this has been one of the more mind-boggling. Well, not mind-boggling, because we kind of saw this going from the last month and a half of the season into the playoffs, the struggles from Indiana. Just to get straight to it, Frank Vogel is going to be gone. You can't blame it all on him, but as cutthroat as the NBA is, with the roster that they assembled, Larry Bird believed this is a championship team, especially the way they performed in the Eastern Conference Finals last season. You just can't lose in the first round to the 8th seed if you're Frank Vogel, if you're giving these players by Larry Bird, who felt they should win this series, and not just this series, but the East. I have a very strong feeling that Roy Hibbert, they're going to look into moving him. They're definitely not just going to, void his contract or anything, but they're going to look into trading him for the simple fact that this guy is 7'1", 260 plus, the biggest center probably in the NBA, was supposed to be the anchor not only for this defense, but for this team to dethrone the Heat and to win the East. And he is putting up some abysmal numbers. The picture that comes to mind when I see Roy Hibbert is like Kwame Brown taking off a Roy Hibbert mask, like, I got you guys. Because this is abysmal. Last night, no points, no rebounds, and he's just been on a bench being a big cheerleader. That's just been what he is.
Boy, it's terrible.
So I definitely see them trying to move Roy Hibbert. And this pattern started late in the season. Their last matchup with the Heat, he didn't play well. The matchup before last, LeBron kind of beat him up, and that elbow kind of broke him down, and he hasn't really regained. But when you get to the playoffs, you cannot just play like this. If you're Roy Hibbert, if you're Paul George, who's kind of been the most consistent pacer of them all, but if you're this team collectively with the defense they're supposed to have, you're not supposed to lose to the Hawks like this. And props, shout-outs to the Hawks for playing like this. Jeff Teague, Paul Millsap, Mike Scott the other night with all those three-pointers. But I definitely see Vogel being gone, and I do believe they'll try to move Roy Hibbert. But I don't see anything happening to Paul George. They just gave him that extension. and he's the best player on the team. Everyone else, in terms of like Lance Stevenson, he may be gone with the fact that they brought in Evan Turner, so he's playing in a contract year. He wanted that contract extension from them. Bringing in Evan Turner, even though he's not as good as Lance Stevenson, kind of puts doubts into a future contract consideration. So definitely Vogel gone. It may not be all his fault, but that's just how the NBA works, and trade talks for Roy Hibbert.
All right, so let's get your take, Michael.
Well, I mean, I've been thinking about this the whole time, and one of two things is either going to happen. Either A, Atlanta is going to walk out of this series, upset Kings, or B, Indiana is going to somehow miraculously pull themselves out of this funk that they're in and go through two of the most hellacious Game 6 and 7s that they are probably ever going to play and emerge from this victorious. Personally, I don't see that happening, but hey, it's totally possible. Now on to the, I guess the elephant in the room when it comes to this Indiana team. I really, as much as I hate to say this, I know there's just a foregone conclusion that Frank Vogel's going to be gone, and I really hate that because I honestly, as Desmond was saying, it's not his fault.
I agree.
I don't see a leader on this team. I mean, after the whole talks coming out of Lance Stevenson beating up somebody in practice, they're getting
Evan Turner
fights. Exactly.
He's trying to take his spot.
Why is Evan Turner always trying to fight somebody?
You guys remember a few years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, the Lakers were coming off of that championship, and they were playing the Mavericks. I think it was in the Western Conference semis, and they shit the bed completely, and I think they lost like 4-1. Andrew Bynum comes out and says there was like a cancer in the locker room somewhere. Ironically, Andrew Bynum's in Indiana's locker room right now. I'm not saying anything. But afterwards, Andrew Bynum gets traded. Don King ends up doing his hair. His knees give out, and he ends up in Indiana, like I said.
Yo.
The whole thing is, there is a cancer in Indiana's locker room right now. I don't know who it is. Personally, I feel like Lance Stevenson is gone after this. Roy Hibbert being traded, that is also a possibility, which Desmond mentioned. But there's just so many good things that Frank Vogel has done for this team. I feel like if they give up on him now, somebody is going to swoop in, grab Frank Vogel, and make Indiana wish that they had never done that. I mean, It's almost like in football. You've got a great coach. You've got a fantastic general manager. You've got all these wide receivers. You've got the best line that money can buy. You've got the ferocious defense, a punishing running back. But if you don't have that quarterback that's going to distribute the ball like you need to, everything else is futile. And that's what Indiana's going right now. They don't have a quarterback that's going to that's distributing Vogel's ideas right now. So something has to give. And sadly, I don't want it to be Vogel, but if that's what it's looking like, somebody who's going to be looking for a coach is going to be getting a very fine coach in Frank Vogel.
All right, Frank Vogel, Santos. Let's get your thoughts.
I agree with all their sentiments. As far as Frank Vogel being fired, I think that's absolutely going to happen. In the NBA especially, the coach is the easiest thing to change, especially when you have a talented roster. It's not like the NFL where you got Belichick and you can just cut everybody because their contracts aren't guaranteed. You can say, hey, you're not doing what Belichick says, so get the hell out of here. We're going to find somebody else. Not like that in the NBA. These stars make the money. They make the decisions.
Unless you need Greg Popovich.
Absolutely. I think everybody not named Paul George is possible to leave. I think he's the only one that definitely stays, but I don't think they'll get rid of everybody, but I think they could get rid of a multiple combination of guys. I think George Hill's days are numbered. I think Roy Hibbert. The only reason why I don't think they might not trade Roy Hibbert is because his value is so low right now that they're going to get like 10 cents on the dollar for Roy Hibbert, and I don't think that's something they're willing to do because they know he does have talent. David West might force a trade out of this place because he's way too good of a player to be putting up with this BS. Lance Stevenson, definitely gone. I think Lance Stevenson is going to get overpaid by somebody, regardless of what's happened in this playoff series. I think Lance Stevenson's the kind of player where people see and they're like, oh, we can turn him into a superstar. Whether he is that guy or not, but I think somebody will give him a lot of money that Indiana will not be willing to match. I wanted to start off, I forgot, by bouncing off Desmond's point. I want to shout out the Atlanta Hawks really quick. It takes a lot, regardless of the confidence the Indiana Pacers have given them, unfortunately for them. Like, the Atlanta Hawks are shooting the lights out. Like, they're just, like, draining threes. They went, like, 8 for 10 from three-point range in the second quarter last night. Like, that's really hard to do. I don't know really what you guys are talking about, though, because the Indiana Pacers it's 2-2 right now because NBA TV just replayed the regular season blowout. That wasn't Game 5 last night, was it? They just replayed the regular season blowout. Isn't that what happened?
It's definitely.
Oh, that was Game 5?
We can call it 2-2, but it was definitely Game 5.
That was Game. Oh, okay, yeah, they're screwed. It's over.
And just to bounce off of Frank's point about Lance Stevenson, he is going to get overpaid, but he's not going to be overpaid, obviously, based off of his performances going on. He's going to be overpaid for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Before they brought Evan Turner in, we were talking Sixth Man of the Year, and he was playing like it. They bring Evan Turner in, his spot is in danger, they're not getting along, and now you see he's not playing on this friction. And we talked about if there's a cancer on this team, if there's a cancer within the locker room. I think that cancer is not a player. I think it's the play of Roy Hibbert. I think everyone is sitting there and looking at this guy who did call out his teammates towards the end of the season saying we got selfish guys here. If I'm Lance Stevenson and I hear Roy Hibbert talking about me being selfish or anyone being selfish, I'm like, dude, when are you going to get a rebound?
Absolutely.
When are you going to get a block?
The same thing happened with the Nets last season. As a Net fan, I know. Like, Gerald Wallace, after every game, would call everybody out and be like, we're playing soft, we're playing this, but, like, dude can't make a layup, so nobody is listening to you. Like, dude, you're not playing well either. What are you calling us out for? So when Roy Hibbert comes out and says, yo, we suck, it's like, no, dude, you suck. We're doing all right.
Players, especially adult grown men that are making millions of dollars playing basketball at the professional level, show me with your play. Don't show me with your mouth, because especially if you're the biggest guy, like Desmond alluded to, the biggest guy in the world, you got to get rebounds. I mean,
just one.
At least get me. I need 7 a game at least for you before you can even say anything to me, or else just shut up. Because I agree a little bit that the cancer is Roy Hibbert's play. I was actually going to say I think the cancer is Frank Vogel, and it's not his fault. I want to get that out there first and foremost. I think Frank Vogel's done a hell of a job as the Pacers coach, but I think he lost the locker room. I think he lost it a while ago.
Exactly.
And he might have lost it because of Roy Hibbert. He might have lost it because of Lance Stevenson.
Andy, I agree with you, and I totally agree with you on that point. Continue.
Yeah, and he might have lost it because Paul George is playing like James Harden rather than LeBron James. Paul George has lost what Paul George had at the beginning of the year. Remember, people were talking about Paul George being the MVP after a few dozen games.
Idiots.
And he's been a great player, and I think he has a ton of potential, but he needs to be more like a LeBron. He needs to lay off the jumpers. He needs to play two-way. He needs to make his defense turn into his offense instead of he's playing James Harden basketball. That's all I see out of the guy. He's jacking shots. He's taking bad shots. I think he's kind of gotten into his own head. And the Roy Hibbert thing, David West has been playing poorly too. Like, I mean, I know, Frank, you love West. You talked about him. I like what David West brings to the table as well. But, he's looked like a child in some of these games. I just feel like, not his play necessarily, but his mindset.
That's always a little bit of the drawback with David West is he can get emotional at times, definitely. But I just want to make a quick point about your vocal point, it not being his fault and losing the locker room. Like, great coaches lose locker rooms sometimes. Like, that happens. Just because you've lost a locker room does not make you not a good coach. And I think that's lost a little bit in some people's analysis when they say, oh, the guy lost a locker room, he's not a good coach. Sometimes it just happens. Like, the guys just stop listening to you. One candidate I think will eventually lose his locker room is Tom Thibodeau. As much as we love him, I think he's so grinded out and so emotional that when the team's losing, I think eventually he'll just lose a locker room at one point.
Well, because
listen, if he gets that locker room back, I mean that's another story.
Because if we know it, if we can sit here and tell you that a coach is the most expendable thing, except for the rare exceptions like the Bill Belichick's in football and Greg Popovich, the players know that too. So. Right. A player, and you're absolutely right, I think, with that grinded out style of play. Eventually, if you're not winning games, players are going to be like, forget this. I mean, I don't want to do this. I'm not working hard for a guy who's not, for a team we're not winning games. So
and the only difference between, and that's a great point from both of you guys, the only difference is Tom Thibodeau has a Joakim Noah. So he has the passion and the grit from Noah, who's never going to quit, who's never going to give up no matter what the score says. And going back to Andy, I totally agree with your point that he lost the locker room. And I think the final straw on where he lost the locker room was when he did not put that vote of confidence in Paul George. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what he's saying to him. But there have been moments during this season, late in the season, especially in these playoffs, where especially before the season started, they had team interviews and like usually you see like stars doing interviews one-on-one, which a lot of people are not in favor for. I feel like in the NBA, when you're the best player on the team, sometimes you need to know you're the best player on the team. Dwayne Wade, after the collapse against the Mavericks, pulled LeBron James aside and said, "Listen, we can't both be the guy. You have to be the guy. I'll follow your lead." They've been in the finals 3 straight times now. So the fact of the matter is, Paul George is from what it's looked like with his play and how they look like they interact with each other. He's never been pulled aside and told, "All right, listen, you're the leader, you're the voice. You need to reel us in." Because I guarantee, if Paul George is the one saying, "Listen, we're not playing well, we're being selfish," Lance Stevenson might take that to heart and be like, "You know what? You're right, we're not playing well." When you have 0 rebounds, 0 blocks, 4 fouls, Roy Hibbert going, "We're selfish." What are you talking about, dude?
It has to be a guy. It has to be a guy who's put up stats to talk. I feel like at this level.
The closing point for me with the Pacers is I think the main thing that happened to them was they're just a team that caught success too quick and they weren't ready for it. Like they went from the hunter to the hunted and they were not ready for that transition. I think they were a year away because to be honest, I thought the Bulls were going to beat the Pacers this year with Derrick Rose, and I thought they were going to be that 1 seed that challenges the Heat, and like the Pacers were going to be that 3rd team that were like maybe good enough to contend with both of them, possibly might give them a good series, but I think they were a year away and they just caught success too quick and they just could not adjust to it, and now we're just going to see it be dismantled, I think.
And it goes back to the old saying, it's easier to get an A than it is to keep an A. Let's jump into the next topic. We're going from disappointing teams to surprisingly like breath of fresh air teams, and that's the Washington Wizards laying the wood to the Chicago Bulls. And I'm going to be sporting that John Wall profile picture on Facebook for a week because of this, which is fine because I love John Wall.
I thought you were going to pull a Brandon and get a John Wall jersey for next week. And just
I'll buy a John Wall jersey because for one, I like their jerseys, and for two, I love John Wall. So the jokes on the guy who made the bet with me. He didn't really know that I was secretly pulling for the Wizards. So can the Wizards? Let's talk about this. We may be ahead of ourselves, but can the Wizards win the East? I mean, is that out of control? Because if they win, they'll likely be playing the Atlanta Hawks or, God forbid, these Pacers who don't know what's going on. Let's go to you first, Michael. How about the Wizards? Do they have a legitimate shot at not winning the title necessarily, but taking the Eastern Conference?
No.
No.
No, not yet. Not yet. Look, I agree. They have a very, very good shot at making the Eastern Conference Finals. Hell, the road to the Eastern Conference Finals is paved through D.C. right now, especially if Atlanta wins. And especially if, now we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. 2 of these next 3 games are in United Center in Chicago. And I don't know about you guys, but that shit is always rocking in Chicago.
Yes,
so,
it is.
I mean, they were able to kind of, delay the crowd a little bit in game 1 and 2. But, I mean, had it not been for Nene being suspended and leaving, game 3 early, we would probably be talking about Washington right now, waiting to see who's going to win this series. I mean, they probably would have swept Chicago. But, Chicago goes back to Sweet Home Chicago 4 or 5 and, if necessary, a Game 7. But I don't see it happening. I see this Washington team going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, would you have thought a 6 seed would have gone? No. Everybody expected a 1 and 2.
Not in the East. Never in the
East. Here's the thing. What's going to determine if Washington can win the Eastern Conference? Not now, but let's say maybe in 5 years. We don't know what the Big 3 is going to look like in 5 years. We don't know what the Pacers are going to look like next month.
Yeah.
If this Bradley Beal, John Wall, Trevor Booker, these young guns can continue.
Do not mention Trevor Booker's name again.
Hey, that's a Clemson.
One name does not fit.
I'm mentioning Trevor Booker. If these young guns maybe said,
wait, where did Trevor Booker go to Clemson? I think he might have went to Clemson. Michael Prosser's beloved Clemson Tigers.
I sat there and talked with. I actually talked with a scout with the Portland Trailblazers when we beat the hell out of Duke by like 30. At home, and he was like, dude, I'm really impressed with this Trevor Booker kid, who ends up being drafted 19th or 20th overall and then gets traded to Washington by Minnesota. But again, if in 5 years this team can grow with the guys like Nene, Trevor Ariza, Marcin Gortat, who's to say that they can't be a 3rd seed like Toronto was this year in 3 years, maybe even in 5 to contend with these teams. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to be a perennial Eastern Conference powerhouse.
I think they are.
It's possible.
I am. I mean, I don't know what Mike was talking about 5 years from now. Like, geez, that's a long time. That's a long time away in this Eastern Conference. I mean,
John Wall will be like 29.
Yeah, it looks pretty putrid right now. I mean, I think they definitely have a chance to win the Eastern Conference. Obviously, it really depends on, for me, a large part of it depends on who wins the Raptors and Nets series, because I think the Nets will give the Heat a lot better series than the Raptors will. So, like, because if the Heat go and they sweep the Raptors and they just swept the Bobcats and they're coming on 2 weeks of rest basically of basketball, going in and facing the Wizards, they're probably going to smoke them. Just because they're going to be well rested. But I think that if the Nets win and the Heat beat the Nets in like a nice 6 or even 7 game series where they're actually beaten up a little bit from the playoffs, I think the Wizards have a great chance to beat the Heat, because they do pose a lot of matchup problems for the Heat. Most importantly, you can't hide Dwayne Wade on defense against the Wizards because they have the backcourt of Beal and Wall. So Wade can't defend either one of them. And with the way Ariza's playing right now, he's making it so you can't just hide him on defense against Ariza, because Ariza can drive to the basket. And they have 2 big guys, so unfortunately the Heat don't really have that many bigs to defend both Nene and Gortat. So it really makes it a problem for the Heat to play this Wizards team, because they do pose a lot of matchup problems. I mean, then again, I wouldn't pick the Wizards, obviously. I'm picking the Heat to win that series, but I think potentially the Wizards could win that series. But most importantly, they got to get past the Atlanta Hawks and Mike Scott, a.k.a. the Emoji God.
Yep, and the reminder is, the question was, can the Wizards win the East? Go ahead, Desmond.
Oh boy, we're getting towards a slippery slope. I just want first and foremost, I'm a big John Wall fan. I'm happy to see him on the big stage. This is great for Washington. No. The fact of the matter is, the Miami Heat just swept the Charlotte Bobcats. They're getting rest. Whether or not the Raptors or the Nets, even though I do believe the Nets, like Frank said, could give the Heat a formidable series, I don't see that getting past 6 games, and with the rest that they're getting, they might not play again until, next Sunday?
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Dwayne Wade getting rest, he looked okay against the Bobcats. Didn't have to exert his energy because it was the Bobcats, and LeBron looks like LeBron, leads all postseason performers with a 33.17 player efficiency rating. So
so lights out. That's ridiculous.
However, if I'm the Wizards, you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you give the Heat a good, you give the NBA a good show with that Eastern Conference Finals, because like we said, they do match up well. John Wall is a matchup problem because there's no one on the Heat that can guard him in regards to point guards. Bradley Beal, to some extent, is a matchup problem. Dwayne Wade, can he be he can play defense, but he's not the Dwayne Wade of old that was locking people up. So we have to be aware of that. And they do provide some size problems in terms of Nene and his power, his touch around the basket. But if I'm the Washington Wizards, this offseason is going to get interesting, because let me just say, you play well, you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you give the Heat maybe a 6-game series. Who's to say Carmelo Anthony stops thinking about the Chicago Bulls and goes, you guys have cap space, I want to play with a John Wall who's a healthier version of D-Rose. I'll come to Washington and we can be a powerhouse.
Oh, I like where Desmond's going.
Shout out to Baltimore, and Baltimore's like 90 miles.
Yeah, he's
Baltimore. Yeah, that's right. A little Baltimore connection.
It comes down to, 1, Randy Whitman is doing an excellent job coaching the Washington Wizards right now. 2, yes, you do want to play with Coach Thibodeau, and you would like to play with a Joakim Noah. But at the end of the day, if LeBron stays in Miami and Pat Riley is able to put pieces around him, the number one thing in the East is we have to beat the Heat. And am I going to be able to trust Derrick Rose to be there when I need him to be there? Is he going to be healthy? Or should I go with John Wall, who's younger, we can say it now, more explosive, healthier, and is talented and has years to grow and grow?
Desmond just blew my mind, because now I'm going to spend the next week thinking about what Carmelo Anthony would look like.
It's possible. They can have the cap space. It will probably be a sign-and-trade, most likely. They can do something with some picks, which the Knicks would be totally interested in. If I'm Phil Jackson and I have to, if Carmelo wants to leave and you want to get that sign-and-trade done, get some picks, get what you can, cash considerations. But if I'm Carmelo Anthony, I'm keeping my eye on the Washington Wizards because they're beating the team everyone's telling you to go to. They have a young point guard who,
a better point guard,
along with Damian Lillard, is showing out in this playoffs. If I'm Carmelo Anthony, John Wall is somebody I want to play with. Randy Whitman is somebody I want to play for, and the Washington Wizards might be a suitable, viable option.
So you've got me going here now. Now, Carmelo Anthony, I would almost guarantee you if you asked him right now, in confidence, who he'd rather play with, John Wall or Derrick Rose, it's got to be John Wall.
He said
John Wall's
absolutely.
John Wall's a better passer. John Wall sees the floor better than Derrick.
Court vision
Derrick Rose is
remarkable.
dynamic. I don't want to dog on him, but he's hurt all the time, and he's not your traditional pass-first point guard, which
right.
I think is something Carmelo Anthony kind of would strive with. To answer the question, though, and real quick before I do, Trevor Booker is from South Carolina. Michael, good job.
Whitmire. Outside of Spartanburg.
So, the question, I think yes, and it's gonna, like Frank said, depend on that next series with the Heat. Who do they play? How, where does that series go? But yeah, I like the matchup problems, and it's not just Gortat and Nene. I'm kind of picking at the bones here because you guys kind of already explained all of this, but they do have matchup problems there. And then who does LeBron guard? Is LeBron guarding Beal to keep him off the line?
He's going to have to.
Or is he going to guard John Wall? Because
he's going to have to. Because Mario Chalmers is cold.
And so I don't know where he goes. And either way, whatever one of those guys he guards, if he guards Wall, you're going to have Beal and you're going to have Ariza shooting lights out. So, again, like Frank said, I wouldn't pick them. There's no way. But again, I wouldn't pick the Wizards against the Bulls. I didn't. And I wish
Neither did I.
Because I do like this team. And either way, I think, to kind of touch on what Michael was saying at the beginning, they're gaining valuable experience here regardless. Even if they were to lose this series, they're gaining valuable experience, which they're not gonna. They're gonna beat the Bulls. I think it's done in 5. To be honest with you, I just that's what I'm feeling at this moment. I'm just kind of, I picked the Bulls, but I'm feeling Game 5 for some reason. That's my. Now watch they get beat by 40, and then their confidence is flailed and it goes 7. But I feel like this team, and maybe next year, the year after, they're going to be able to add pieces. And they might not even need to add pieces because I think their starting 5 is pretty strong right now. They just need this playoff experience. So I'm going to say yes. Could they beat the Heat? Sure. Will they beat the Heat? If you ask me for my money, no. Let's go to – all right, go ahead.
I just want to make a couple points. I think a big thing with the Wizards is they have a big decision on Gortat in the offseason because he's a free agent, and they got to decide whether and he's a big man playing well, so somebody's going to offer him – at least $9 to $10 million to for his services. The big thing for me I wanted to say is it kind of breaks my heart to count the Bulls out. I don't know if I'm ready to count them out yet, but it just seems like they don't have enough firepower to beat the Wizards. The Wizards have so many weapons, and I guess it's something you never notice with them throughout the season because they were never really healthy for a long period of time with their full starting 5. So it's kind of like they're coming together now, which makes them even more dangerous because they don't really have that chemistry that most teams have throughout a whole season, and they're playing so well.
Okay, so let's go into this last one because we're getting our times going here. Not the last one, but the second to last one. We still have 2 topics left, so we gotta cruise. Let's go. Do we love this competitive playoff atmosphere? Because it's been a while, especially for the Eastern Conference. It's so competitive all the way down, with exception to the Miami and Charlotte series, which is over. The Brooklyn-Toronto series is 2-2. The Washington-Chicago one isn't as competitive. It's 3-1 in favor of Washington. The Atlanta-Indiana, surprisingly enough, Atlanta's 3-2 there. But the West is nuts. I mean, Dallas and San Antonio knotted up. Nobody thought that. A lot of people were talking sweep for the Spurs. Houston is trailing 3-1, but like every game goes into overtime. You never know what's going to happen. Same thing with the OKC and Memphis series. That's knotted up, and they seem like overtime is the only thing they know how to do. The Clippers Golden State series is knotted up. So how much? I mean, maybe some people don't like this competitive first round. I'd be hard pressed to find somebody, I think. But what do you guys think of this? We'll go to you first, Frank.
I love it. Obviously, I'm up at like 1 a.m. every day thinking like how much sleep, like I'm like calculating how much sleep I need and what time I got to get up if I can watch this overtime at 1 o'clock in the morning. But I always stay up. It's incredible. The big thing for me is it's a very atypical playoffs in the terms where it almost reminds me of the NCAA tournament. Like you just have this crazy parity, and then like all of a sudden you got like guys you've never heard of making a difference. You got Troy Daniels, who was in the D League 2 weeks ago, like shooting threes. He's like that mid-major guy that you're like, oh, you're never gonna believe when you see this guy, and all of a sudden he's just like draining threes all over the place. I love it. It's definitely taken me a little while to get used to, but I think the big point to make, and we've kind of touched on the Heat already, is like as everybody else is beating themselves up in the Western Conference, are beating themselves up, the Heat are just standing there in South Beach, just on the beach, LeBron with his wife and his kid, D-Wade's resting that knee, and like they're the only team that's really just chilling right now. And the crazy thing to me is like a lot of these series have not been played like traditional playoff series. Like that Trailblazers Rockets is like up and down. It's just crazy. Nobody wants to play defense. Shout out to James Harden. And like they're just shooting threes all over the place, and it really is. It's insanity.
Michael, your thoughts on these crazy, wildly competitive playoffs?
Well, I mean, not to piggyback off of what Frank was saying, but I totally 100% agree with him.
I think you have to.
On the whole March Madness thing, because I actually was going to make the same point and throw in some sort of Herm Edwards quote about how you play to win the game. You play to win the game. You play to win these playoffs. I think I've mentioned it before on past Kings Court shows. I'm really only a 50% basketball fan. I only watch basketball really when the Lakers are playing and the NBA draft, and that's about it. But these playoffs, you want to talk playoffs? These playoffs right here actually make me want to sit down and watch other games. Now, granted, I can't because of my work schedule, and I don't really have the things to TiVo with because I'm usually already TiVoing 2 or 3 other things. And my mom hates when, it conflicts with something else and she doesn't like whatever it's conflicting with. But aside from that, the fact that it makes me, a 50% basketball fan, want to watch basketball a little bit more, that says something. I mean, you got to give credit to all of these teams that have made it interesting. Houston right now could turn this Portland series around and win it in 7. You've got this LA Golden State thing that, minus the controversy, the whole Klay Thompson, Blake Griffin saga, I guess if you want to call it the NBA's version of As the World Turns is right there, and you really want to sit there and watch that. You've got the Grizzlies, who are, these group of guys with scraggly beards like Marc Gasol, and you've got them coming in and playing, the Golden Boy, Kevin Durant.
Did you just call the Grizzlies the Taliban?
No, I did not call them the Taliban. Stop trying to put words in my mouth. Al Jazeera, maybe, but not the Taliban. But and then you've got Vince Carter, who we all thought was the old guy.
They brought us back,
looking like Vince Carter from Toronto, man. I mean, it was with that the nice J that he dropped on San Antonio, and of course you've got this San Antonio team who they just, it seems like no matter how old we get, we see how old they're getting. They're like the Detroit Red Wings in the 1990s. The team never changes, it seems like. Even go back in the early 2000s with David Robinson and Tim Duncan. You've still got Tim Duncan. You've still got Greg Popovich. You've still got, the whole mystique of the Spurs is really cool to watch. And I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a Lakers fan saying that it's cool to watch.
They're like Matthew McConaughey.
You know what I like?
No, they're not like Matthew McConaughey. No.
They keep getting older and they stay the same age.
The whole point is, like I said, I'm maybe a 50% basketball fan, but I really wanted to watch these playoffs, and it's exciting to see stuff like this because, especially since the Eastern Conference is so enigmatic right now. You've got an 8 beating a 1, and badly, might I add, despite the fact that the series is 3-2. You've got an upstart Washington team. You've got the injured Chicago team reeling. You've got a Toronto team that nobody expected to be here, and you just lost a franchise. Great storylines.
We lost a bad franchise. We like that.
Above all else, before you go, Andy, I'm just glad that of all the things we learned, I really wanted to know about Michael Prosser's TiVo priority. I'm glad we learned that today.
All right, Desmond, let's hear your thoughts on the parity in the first round.
I think more so than parity, even though that has been refreshing as well. I think just the great basketball that we've seen in this first round has been unreal, and it kind of complements the change in the NBA. What's that saying when you go into the playoffs? The game slows down. Whoever said that doesn't know what they're talking about this year, because the game has been up-tempo. It's been three-pointers. It's been overtime. It's been desperation rebounds. Now, I'm not talking like just going up and grab it. Like, guys are like flying into each other to go get rebounds, falling all over the ground. This is playoff basketball at its finest. This is legitimately, I sat to myself yesterday and I tried to remember who played Kentucky in the national championship, and I felt bad. Because I was like,
there was a national championship game?
Exactly. That's how exciting this first round has been. And then, Michael, you touched on it, the storylines, and you touched on it, Andy, as well. Troy McDaniels coming out of nowhere. Damian Lillard is showing out. John Wall is showing out. We have all these stars that are shining. And then you still had that little underlying, with the Miami Heat, we're just going to sit here and wait for everybody else to come join us. But that doesn't even stop everything else. Everything else, amid the controversy with LA and Golden State, everything else has just been fantastic. I tweeted the other night, "Dear NBA, thank you," because honestly, this has been the greatest first round I have seen in a long time, and it's up tempo. It's a lot of 3-pointers. It's overtime. It's just remarkable. I can't remember the last time a first round has made me this excited to get home. Just to watch a first round game. Who knew I wanted to get home early enough to see Wizards versus Chicago?
Yeah.
Like that without a Derrick Rose.
It was UConn who played Kentucky, and they actually won.
Who's that?
See, Desmond couldn't even remember
Who's
who won the whole
UConn?
thing.
Wasn't it like a Mutaz or something some guy? But
I want to thank
Tang Clan? What?
I want to thank the NBA for destroying my sleep cycle.
yes,
Because the Houston-Portland series is like starts at 9:30 or 10:30, and then it goes to a mandatory overtime every night.
and they know what they're doing too.
Yeah,
they
and
know
I'm
what
up
they're
till
doing.
1. And the same thing with the Grizzlies. And I mean, the Grizzlies in OKC, I expected a decent series, but I don't think I expected overtime every night. I'm
By
like,
NBA rule, Andy,
guys are
that
killing
game
me.
should not be fun.
no, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It should be grinded out, but it's fun. And the thing is, here's two things, because you guys said everything I could have possibly said. Shout out to two things I didn't expect to see. 2-2-2-2-2. LeBron James is yet to have an army of LeBron haters on Twitter or Facebook talking about how many foul calls he gets. I haven't seen it. I mean, maybe it's been there,
You're right.
but I
That's
haven't
crazy.
seen it every night, and that's out of control. I didn't expect it. So you LeBron haters aren't doing your jobs. I go to work every day. Go to work, man. Get on
Or
your
maybe the refs are
handles.
doing their jobs.
Go
because
nuts.
They're not
Second
calling
thing-
as much.
Second thing is, of all the people in the playoffs, despite who's guarding them, I didn't expect it to be Kevin Durant, who couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat.
The grindfather, baby.
Absolutely, and I'll never deny that Tony Allen has nothing to do with it, but I'm watching this dude miss wide open jumpers, and it, to me, is it's weird to say that I kind of like it a little bit, because that in itself is parody, Kevin Durant missing everything. So, Reggie Jackson, you're my boy.
Did you see him hug Reggie Jackson?
Yo, he had to hug.
That's how you hug like your kid when you don't see them for like a
You
week.
have to. I mean,
I was thinking they hugged Reggie Jackson like a military family hug, like the guy when he's coming home for the first time in like 6 years.
Oh,
Like they
he's
just
got that.
all tears. Like I was expecting the full thing.
yo, he saved the series. He is this year's Ray Allen so far.
Yo, I haven't been this excited for the playoffs since Vlade Divac was wearing a Kings jersey. All right, I mean, this is good stuff.
Vlade was showing us all how to flop, and now we do it every day. Let's jump
Yeah,
into our last
this
thing.
whole flop thing is Lottie's fault. Just for the record.
Our last thing here, and it's very short, and this is right now shot out of a cannon, courtesy of Franklin Santos. Pick your Western Conference champion right now, Michael Prowser.
I got to go with San Antonio. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, these guys are just the model of consistency in the NBA. They've been in situations like this before. They know they know what to do when they're down. San Antonio.
Okay, Desmond, your winner.
The Portland Trailblazers. For the simple, Damian Lillard is showing out. LaMarcus Aldridge leads all postseason performers, 35 points per game. Their defense is playing sensationally. So I truly believe the Portland Trailblazers will be the representative of the Western Conference in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, this is a BS question too. Frank, your pick.
Worst part is I posed this question and I still don't have an answer to it. I'm gonna go.
That's why I'm on the list.
I'm gonna go with the San Antonio Ivan Dragos. They're just robots. They don't know anything else but to knock you down and knock you out and kill you. So I'm going with.
I will break you.
I'm gonna go with. I've
It's
had all this
tough.
time to think, and I still don't know. I'm going with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I knew you were gonna do that.
I think Frank, and I'm actually piggybacking off your idea because I didn't have them winning before. I think, for me, it was the Clippers from the start, but I think that's ruined now. Like, I don't know if they'll ever even if they get through this series, I just don't know. It's too mental at this point. OKC for me, and Frank, this is a direct quote almost from you. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
I know where you're going.
You said if they can get out of this series, which I still think they do, and I believe your comment more so now. They're getting punched in the face right now, and they're still managing to win some of these games. Like they shouldn't have won that game the other night.
No.
If they manage to win this series, I feel like they've dealt with all the adversity that the league can throw at them, and I don't know, that next round is obviously could be. I think they match up extremely well with Golden State, and I feel like even if the Clippers do win, like I said, it's in their head now, and I just don't know. I think they have an easier second round than say, the Spurs might have a very tough second round if they come out. So
the only reason I didn't pick the Thunder is because I think that I still have the Grizzlies winning, but if they do make it out, I think the Grizzlies will be the hardest series that the Thunder face in the whole playoffs if they get past them.
All right, closing thoughts. Desmond, Michael?
The NBA playoffs have been great, despite controversy, despite whatever. It's been beautiful basketball. NBA fans deserve it as much as they give back to the game in regards to merchandise sales, ratings, all of the above. The NBA playoffs have been great. If you haven't watched yet, tune in. Treat yourself to Houston, Portland, to any of these games. And if this is what we're receiving in the first round, I don't think my heart can take what we're going to get in the semis. I just don't think it can take it.
Michael Prauser.
I love Lamp.
Me too. Lamp is actually my favorite. My closing thought is going to be a little bit of promotion. I'm never above promotion. Why don't you guys head on over to www.sports-kings.com. Hit us up, comment, read the articles, tell your friends, subscribe to our our YouTube page since you are here. Our channel is popping. Until next week, on behalf of myself, Michael, Desmond, Frank, Brandon, who didn't show up, and the rest of the guys at the SK Network, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.